Michigan State is the opponent awaiting North Carolina in the round of 32 on Saturday. What does Tom Izzo's club have in store for the Tar Heels?
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Friday, March 22nd, 2024. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Shade, and you're joining us at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. Thanks for making us your first listen or watch, and a very special shout out to all you everydayers out there. This episode is brought to you by Nissan. Are you the kind of driver that likes to push it a little further? Do you ever wonder what adventure could be waiting around that next corner? Why don't you take the Nissan Rogue or Pathfinder or Armada and go find your next big adventure? Check them all out today at nissanusa.com. All right, we got a fun show coming up, a crossover episode with Matt Sheehan, the host of Locked On Spartans. We're going to look at the Carolina side of things. We're going to look at the Michigan State side of things, and then we'll give you some predictions as long as just a little bit of banter about what's been going on in the tournament so far. North Carolina, Michigan State, 5:30 tomorrow, Saturday on CBS. Let's get right into it.
Spartan friends, Spartan family, also Tar Heel Nation. Like we said, Locked On crossover over here. It's Matt Sheehan of Locked On Spartans over there. Isaac Shade of Locked On Tar Heels, and we're still dancing over here. We're going to talk about Saturday's game, 5:30 p.m. on CBS. Isaac, I got a little tweet here. This is from Chris Fallica. UNC is currently a 4-point favorite over Michigan State Saturday. Since 1985, there have been 7 1 seeds favored by 4 points or fewer in the second round. 5 of the 7 lost outright, including Kansas last year against Arkansas, and only Missouri in 1994 covered. So, not to make this a betting segment, but this sets up a good conversation.
Yes.
Isaac, when I read that off, do you have a chill down your spine for your Tar Heels, or do you think it's time to rewrite some history and that there actually should be some comfort among Tar Heel Nation as they play essentially a home game coming up Saturday?
You know, Matt, I don't have the chill, and here's why. Because the Tar Heels are 5-0 all-time in the NCAA tournament against Michigan State, and Carolina all-time is 20-1 in Charlotte in the NCAA tournament. But one of these things has to be true, right? Like either the
Something
Bears
has to give, right?
Like either the Bears tweet is going to be right, or either the history there. We'll see which side that's on. But look, I think here's the thing, Matt, is this should be a great game, right? Just even the fact that it is. I think at FanDuel, our betting partner here on Locked On, it was 3.5 in favor of the Tar Heels last I looked, so even a little smaller than the Bear was talking about there, but. Look, I know that and we'll talk about Michigan State obviously in a little bit, and I know it hasn't been the season that Spartans fans hoped it would be, but look, everything changes when we get to this point and there's only 32 teams left. It's like you throw out what's gone on before and we just look at this game. So that's all we can do.
And there's no doubt that you guys are a fantastic team. I mean, it's a 1 seed. There's no mistake right here, and you guys have great players, which we're going to get to in a hot second, but allow me to try to continue positive momentum over here on the Michigan State side of things. Where are the cracks with UNC? Where do you worry when you put your head down on the pillow tonight before this game? What's going to keep you up a little bit tonight, Isaac?
The potential cracks for Carolina, interestingly, when most people think about the Tar Heels, they think offense and fast pace and all that. Carolina, kind of similar to Michigan State this year, has actually hung their hat on defense, on the defensive side of the floor. I think right now at KenPom, these two teams are 6th and 7th in defensive efficiency, actually. And so Carolina has been locked in defensively. The issues have come, like there was a stretch where Carolina went 2-3 in a 5-game stretch throughout ACC play. And the issue there was that the defense was not clicking and not locked in at the same rate as it had been. And so I think that is the potential crack in the armor, if we want to put it that way, is that if Carolina is not locked in defensively, because it is not like, if we think back to the 2009 championship game, for example, Matt, that team from Carolina was just a juggernaut, right? This is not that team. This is more like North Carolina's 2017 national championship team, where they've got to play with an edge and be the aggressors the entire game, because it's not that level of talent. Not that they're not talented, but it's not like Tyler Hansbrough running you out the gym.
The 2009 national championship team could have been a 3 seed in the Eastern Conference NBA playoffs that year. That team, my God, could bludgeon anyone over the head. Speaking of, NBA roster talent guys, yeah, let's start talking about some of these good players over there. RJ Davis. What makes him so good? I know that's such a stupid question, but truly, for those State fans that have not watched RJ Davis as much as you have, what makes him so dynamic and one of the best, if not the best point guard in this tournament?
Yeah, I mean, it very well could be that's the answer. Not even just one of that. He's the ACC Player of the Year. Yeah. One of the things that I love about him, Matt, is, for example, in Carolina's opening round win over Wagner, RJ Davis had 22 points, but he let everyone get going in the first half, and then he dropped 17 in the second half. And so he's not a guy that's oh, I've got to come out and be the ball dominant guy. It's Carolina's path to victory in that game was asserting their advantage inside with Armando Bacot, and he was more than happy to let that happen. And so you look at this postseason experience, because between these two guys, RJ Davis and Armando Bacot, you've got two guys that were in the 2022 national championship game.
Yeah.
And so for RJ Davis, he feels like he's got this really good sense of when to call his number and when to be a distributor. For example, in the postseason so far, which is 3 ACC tournament games and the first NCAA tournament game, RJ Davis is averaging 23.8 points. And he's got 12 assists and 1 turnover. So it's this kind of thing, man, where it's that senior experience is shining through in both scoring when necessary, but being a facilitator when necessary as well. And RJ Davis is doing all of that, outside, inside. He can score at all 3 levels. It's pretty incredible.
All right. I hated that answer. Every word of it. That sucked. Okay. I'm gonna roll the dice tomorrow and see how that works out. Maybe he's due for a bad game. I don't know. Who's to say? But look, you talked about Armando Bacot for a hot second. I don't think there's much to talk about. He is what he is. We've seen him for what seems like the last 7 years now.
Honestly.
Other than RJ Davis, other than Armando Bacot, and also Michigan State fans are familiar with Cormac Ryan. Last year he was at Notre Dame. He shot 17 of 18 from 3-point land. He was en fuego last year. So we know those 3 guys. Who have we not brought up that you think is also worth losing sleep over from the Michigan State side of things?
For sure. The other 2 starters, along with those 3, are freshman Elliot Cadeau, who is actually the point guard. RJ Davis has shifted over to the 2 guard this year. Elliot Cadeau reclassified, so he should be a senior in high school right now, but he runs the attack. I think he will be, of the 10 starters, the lone freshman on the floor to start this game on Saturday. What he does is that facilitation role, right? Mm-hmm. He attacks really well, finishes well at the lane, gets it around to everyone else. He's not the guy that right now is able to step out and hit it consistently. So that's what you're looking for. But perhaps the most interesting piece of this Carolina puzzle is Harrison Ingram, who's the starting 4. And it's really interesting, Matt, to be talking about this with you, because all season long I've compared him to Draymond Green. He comes over from Stanford, where he had played his first 2 years.
Yep. And
Carolina relies on him as a small ball 4, does a little bit of everything. He shoots it just shy of 40% from 3. But that's not necessarily what you want from him all the time, right? In conference play, it was he, not Armando Bacot, that was the ACC's leading rebounder in ACC play as a 6'9" guy. Yeah. But can play a little bully ball. If he's got a shorter defender on him in switches, he'll just back you down and either facilitate or score. And so I think Harrison Ingram is a really interesting and key piece for this Tar Heels attack.
There we go. We're going to flip the script here. Isaac is going to grill me about my Spartans here in a hot segment. First, need to talk about the spring cleaning champions over at Manscaped. This episode is brought to you by the spring cleaning champions, Manscaped. This season, make sure to groom your carpets and the drapes with the leaders in below-the-waist grooming. Clear out that winter bush with Manscaped's Lawnmower 5.0 and watch your confidence bloom like the springtime flowers. Embrace the season and join the 10 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with our special offer. Go to manscaped.com and use code LOCKEDON for 20% off and free shipping. Not too shabby. Now let's talk a little bit more about this Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. It features a dual LED spotlight to guide you through the darkest of winter debris. Navigate with confidence in your delicate areas. You don't want to get nicked up over there. Heavens no. My goodness gracious. And if you hate the mess, well, hey, not to worry. This bad boy is waterproof. Shave in the shower, shave in the bathtub. Take this thing into an ocean or a lake. Who is going to stop you other than the authorities? Just power through it. Just do whatever you got to do. Get 20% off and free shipping with code LOCKEDON. That's all one word, locked on at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with code LOCKEDON at manscaped.com. Nothing like a little spring cleaning in your pants. Also, need to talk your ears off about Game Time. Folks, if you're in the Charlotte area, I urge you to go on Game Time right now because this is the greatest ticketing app out there. I love it for a whole list of reasons, but up at the top, how much money they can save you. I'm a pretty frugal guy over here, Isaac, all right? I like to save my money.
Same.
I know. I'm going to an event later that week. I'm checking Game Time throughout the week, checking out their flash deals. Not just games, too. Talking concerts, comedy shows, theatrical performances. If it's a ticketed event, odds are you can find it at Game Time. Or also, like me, if you're a procrastinator, you don't have tickets, you're just walking up to the stadium with nothing, go check out their last-minute ticket deals. They are the best in the business, and they want to save you money right off the back. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Game Time today. It's last-minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed.
Oh, man. Matt Sheehan, Isaac Shade, a Locked On crossover as we get ready for a round of 32 games I should say. Let's not play multiple games. This isn't the NBA.
No,
between Tom Izzo's Michigan State Spartans and Hubert Davis's North Carolina Tar Heels. And Matt, here's what's interesting to me as I've started to think about this game. You look back to last season, North Carolina, preseason number 1, fell off the face of the planet, didn't make the NCAA tournament. This season, kind of a similar storyline for Michigan State, preseason number 4, didn't have the season that any of us expected to have. Finished Big Ten play 10-10, just got to 20 wins in the first game of the NCAA tournament. Matt, what has gone wrong, or what has not gone in the way we expected this season for the Spartans?
Well, it's a good cocktail of everything, right? Like, that's what happens when you lose 14 games in the season. It's not just one answer, so I'll try to keep it short. Number 1, the front court going into the season without patching up that hole in the transfer portal ended up to be a little detrimental to this team. And some of that was hurt with Jackson Kohler breaking his foot. Sure. He missed the first few months of the season, but still, it's not like he was averaging 15-8 last year. Like, he was averaging 2-2. I don't even think, having a normal season for him would put Michigan State on the right side of having a good front court. They are offensively inept. No offense with the 3 guys they have, but defensively, as of late, that they showed that, okay, they could hold their own, which gives us a little bit of hope. Also, the shooting has been a roller coaster throughout the season, namely with Jaden Akins. Now, he absolutely lit up the Bulldogs yesterday. Yeah. He absolutely torched the nylon, which is, we haven't seen that in a month consistently from Jaden Akins. So if we can see that Saturday, that's going to give us a lot of faith too. It's been up and down with the point guard play. Our backup point guard, 5-star Jeremy Fears, shot over holiday break in his hometown, Chicago. He has not played the last few months. So as if it couldn't get any worse, we have that going on. Tyson Walker, is there an injury issue? Yes, probably. But then again, he's throwing down windmill dunks and warmups. It's like, what's going on here? And then, Isaac, you throw in there's just been some weird games too. Like at Minnesota, you're shooting below 50% on the free throw stripe. The opener against James Madison, you just make 1 3-pointer, where if you just make another one, you don't go into overtime against them. So look, it's not to say that every game's been a fluke. No. We do have to look in the mirror for a lot of these issues, but it has just been a kind of disastrous cocktail here in the last few months here, Isaac. So that's what we got. But hey, it's March. Time to start trying. Let's get it popping.
Matt, it's so weird because the eye test has told us that it's not been Michigan State's best season, but the computer numbers really have loved the Spartans. Currently 16th at KenPom, and so it was weird. Matt, how were you feeling going into Selection Sunday? Were you concerned? Were you feeling confident? Where was your brain space at?
Confident would be probably the last adjective I would use to describe me on Selection Sunday. But I'm also on like the more cowardly side of things. I get scared of anything in the month of March. So at the end of the day, when you're a 9 seed, normal, sane people will say, what was there to ever worry about? Like, it was a no-doubter. But yeah, when bubble teams like Virginia are announced beforehand and you know that you're kind of close to the bubble, I'm starting to panic and wondering, it's just over here. But no, we heard our name called. But going into the end of the season, losing 4 of your last 5 before the Big Ten tournament, it got to scary season, of course. And then you see all the bubble action going into Selection Sunday. We know that story. But no, I was not confident, but I'm not going to say like it's not a deserved trip to the tournament. They did play one of the hardest schedules, of course, in the country, right? Like they do have a really nice wins against Baylor, Illinois, even the Indiana State game at home turned out to be a very, very good win for Michigan
Absolutely,
State.
it did. That's right.
So yes, they deserve to be in the tournament, but yeah, with the 24 hours leading up to Selection Sunday, that whole bubble frenzy, to say I was confident, oh my God, I'd be lying through my teeth if I told you that. So I was sweating big time.
Well, good. It's always good to have the Spartans in, keep that long Tom Izzo streak going. And Matt, that's the next question. At some level, there's got to be this thought of, look, it's Tom Izzo. Let's just get in, be one of the 68 teams. I don't care where we are, who we're playing, who we're matched up against. If we can get in, can we get some Izzo magic? What do you think about that?
I don't hate it. And we've kind of seen it throughout the whole year. And that's not to say that like, it's time to start trying. But I'm starting to get those vibes from this team because, look, it was a bad start to the season. They lost all their marquee games like against Duke, Arizona. You throw in the loss against James Madison too. And then we're going into this neutral court Baylor game, knowing that you have to win that to stay on the right side of the bubble. And they blew the doors off of them. Okay. And then you go a few more weeks. Yeah, you have some decent wins. You have some road losses. Okay. Hey, Illinois at home. This is one of your last chances to have a really good quad 1 win. They played great against Illinois. Okay. And then here we go. We're kind of sleepwalking through some more games. Hey, you got to win against Minnesota to really lock your spot. They look great in the second half against Minnesota. And then here they are, first round against Mississippi State. It's like, maybe they just have been sleepwalking because, once again, they did walk into February completely eliminated from a Big Ten banner. So what was there really to play for? They already knew that they were kind of going to be in the tournament, but I don't know. It's kind of infuriating watching it over here because, I mean, it starts as a theory of like, maybe they're kind of just like sleepwalking and they only try for games they really know they have to win. It's like they just beat Mississippi State by 20 and look incredible doing it, just like they did against Illinois a little bit ago, against Baylor a little bit ago. So I don't know. It sounds so ridiculous and meatball headish to talk like that, but that could be where we're at with this team is they only, roll out of bed for the games that are worth rolling out of bed for.
Well, Matt, you mentioned Tyson Walker, right? Like team leading scorer, 18 points a game. I love it because I think we're probably going to get a Tyson Walker, RJ Davis guarding each other situation. Yeah. I'm hopeful that's what will happen because that'll be a lot of fun. But you look at the rest of this starting group, man, and it is a veteran, experienced team, just like North Carolina outside of Elliot Cadeau. You've got Malik Hall, who it's just great to see him healthy and playing basketball. Jaden Akins, who you talked about, AJ Hogard. But interestingly, we've seen a little tweak in the starting lineup the last 3 games as Coach Izzo has inserted Carson Cooper into the starting lineup. Matt, have you liked that switch in the front court? Has that been helpful, or how has that changed things?
Yeah, I like it in theory. Like Mady Sissoko, really tough season. We're just going to leave it at that. So you put Carson Cooper in because defensively he's been your best option in the front court. But like not the last few games. It's weird. It seems like whoever they start, they just Freaky Friday it. And now Mady has looked like the premium defender down low, the better rebounder between him and Carson Cooper. So I don't know. It seems to just be whoever's coming off the bench. It's not like you're picking between 2 outstanding options, to put it bluntly. So it's just kind of riding the hot hand in the front court. And we see that through the substitutions throughout the game of, okay, well, he observes what happens on the court in the first 10 minutes and then kind of makes the front court decisions from there. Kind of an underlined storyline, too, if I could just throw this in really quick about Mady Sissoko. He's Muslim. He is observing Ramadan. That's so, right. Look, you play at 12:15 the other day. Like, yeah, sure, we could stomach a few hours of no water or food. This, at 5:30, I do wonder how much gas he's going to have in the tank for this game. So, best of luck to Mady out there. And
that's
kudos for the discipline. Yeah,
honestly, that's a great point, Matt. And that does always play. There's always players in the NCAA tournament that plays a factor with. So we'll wait to see what kind of role that is. I know NC State had something like that on Thursday night with Mo Diarra as well. So it'll be really interesting to watch. Now, Matt, there has been all sorts of great happenings throughout the NCAA tournament. We obviously had the Kentucky upset on Thursday night. Obviously, we should probably also make a prediction for our game, along with maybe a key storyline to watch that might play a big factor. We'll talk about all of that in just a second. But first, friends, I got to tell you about the good folks at Nissan who bring to you this week's March Madness bracket highlight. Each week, we are picking one team that stands out, a team that's pushed it further than the rest. Just like any of the all-new 2024 Nissan SUVs, these guys were able to take it to the next level. And right now, that is Yukon, who, Matt, are you ready for this? Has a 50-15 lead on Stetson in the first half in real time with 1:17 to go before halftime.
Okay.
These Yukon Huskies can only be described as an armada. This top-seeded team is as hardcore as it gets out there, so it's no wonder they've landed the #1 overall seed in the NCAA tournament. They're one of the favorites to win it all, despite having 4 of the 6 Power 6 conference champions in the East region along with them. Well, if you want to get in on figuring out if you can be an Armada too, take the Nissan Rogue or Pathfinder or Armada and go find your next big adventure. Shop nissanusa.com. We got a game to talk about. Then we got a little bit more NCAA tournament, just musings to look at. So as you look at this game, Michigan State, North Carolina, as you said, 5:30 Eastern on CBS on Saturday. Right now, FanDuel has it North Carolina by 3.5. What is maybe the key storyline or thing that you think influences this game?
2 words: Jaden Akins. That's really it. I mean, when he is knocking down his 3-point ball, he's Michigan State's best 3-point threat, right? So you take him away, sure, Tyson can hit the 3. It's been a little up and down this whole year. Trey has shown, but man, when you get a starter like Jaden Akins to just knock it down from 3 like he did against Mississippi State, whole nother team, whole new ball game, helps with the spacing too. And not just on the offensive side of things, but Jaden Akins defensively too. I do wonder if that's who they're going to assign RJ Davis with.
I wondered about that.
We will see. There's no shortage of options here. That's one thing that we got going really well for Michigan State is AJ Hogarth can play some defense. Tyson Walker can too. But Jaden Akins, it might be a date with RJ Davis for him. So that is the key to the game over here in East Lansing. Jaden Akins, please don't tell us that was a mirage in the desert on Thursday. Please tell us that you're back, young man. So that's the key over here. How about you guys?
Yeah, what's interesting, I talked about the experience that you have in RJ Davis and Armando Bacot coming in. For Bacot, in the postseason so far, averaging 17.8 points, 12 rebounds, has a double-double in every one of these games, 59% from the field, 79% from the free throw line. Matt, if he gets a double-double in this game, he will tie Tim Duncan for the second most career double-doubles in NCAA history. I mean, it's just bonkers. But that said, that's the expectation for the Tar Heels, I think, is both those guys to perform. So the question for me is, who is that third guy? Is it Cormac Ryan, who, as most people know, was a streaky shooter? Is it Harrison Ingram having a game like he did in the first game against Duke? Is it Jalen Withers coming off the bench, who was the third leading scorer in the first round game for the Tar Heels? That's what I'm watching for, is who is that third guy to join Bacot and RJ Davis? And I think that will be a key for the Tar Heel side of things. So, Matt, what's your prediction for this game? How's it play out?
First prediction is me feeling like I want to throw up the entire day until roughly 7:30 p.m. But just to add another one to that parlay card, look, right now Torvik has this even tighter than 3.5. They have UNC winning 70-68. The computers, Vegas expects a close game. Spartan fans, I'm sorry. I pray that I'm wrong. But this game being in Charlotte gives me the heebie-jeebies. Michigan State has not been a good team on the road this year. And yeah, let's face it, RJ Davis is incredible. Armando Bacot could give a front court like ours fits. I'm going to go with UNC 75, Michigan State 67. A little late pull away there for the Tar Heels. Again, would be thrilled to join everyone here on Saturday night and be wrong. But I'm going with UNC here, unfortunately.
Matt, what's hilarious is I picked the exact same score for the Tar Heels, but 3 more points for the Spartans. I had it Carolina 75-70. So we are very close on our predictions for this game. I think it will be a tight one, as all these lines are showing, and it's just going to come down to who can make plays in the final 6 minutes of the game. And so 2 experienced teams should be a lot of fun. Can't wait to see how it plays out. Matt, let's get over all of those nervous conversations.
Okay, I'll try.
And what has been the most interesting thing so far to you in the first day and a half or so of the NCAA tournament as we record at about 4:00 Eastern on Friday?
It's a dead heat tie for Sanford, Kansas, which, by the way, on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, I had Kansas -4.5 to close out a parlay, and how they went out of their way to lose that by a half point. It's okay. It's not like I lost sleep on that or anything, but regardless,
that was the last thing you had. It would have hit.
No, that was just the last thing I had. 22-point lead in the second half. Johnny Furphy on the line for 2 free throws to make it a 5-point lead to end the game. That's okay. Go ahead and clank that second free throw, young man. I don't need that money anyway. But enough about my problems. There was another storyline in that game that maybe some more people care about. The worst missed call that we'll see all tournament. I'm just going to call it right there. So that is your 1A, and 1B, some local flair over here. It's Oakland beating Kentucky. I mean, it's cool. It's amazing. Oakland is actually 15 minutes from where I'm at right now. Metro Detroit, and Greg Kampe, been at Oakland for 40 years. Michigan State has had an ongoing series with them for the last, 20-some years. Wow. It has been quite something. Greg Kampe, one of the all-time people in college basketball. He was actually nice enough to burn up some time on our show last year. I emailed him out of the blue saying, hey, before our matchup, do you want to join? He agreed. He called me on the bus after the Boise State game. So this guy, as salt of the earth as it gets, has never won a tournament game. And Isaac, you correct me if I'm wrong here. Did that not really even seem like an upset? It just kind of seemed like Oakland was the better team that night. I mean, it could have been worse if they actually made some of their free throws. But as the host of not just Locked On Tar Heels, but also Locked On College Basketball, 2 things. 1, didn't Oakland just seem like the better team? And number 2, did Greg Kampe put a bullet in John Calipari's tenure at Kentucky? I want you to just unfold all that for me right now.
To question 1, it's so hilarious because we always ask this question, right? Who is going to be that name that you woke up Thursday morning not knowing that is now suddenly a household name? And it's Jack Golke, man. What a performance that was. And I think that's the thing for me, Matt, is that I have expected Kentucky to lose at some point earlier rather than later in this tournament, strictly because of their defense. The only team in the Power 6 that was worse than them in this tournament defensively is Alabama. Outside of that, the only 10 teams that were worse than them are all 12 seeds or worse. And so, I mean, I expected Kentucky to be able to score with people, but that defense, that's what I expected from them defensively. Give up stuff like that. So Oakland really was, they just went out and Golke made shots, but then they didn't rely on that, Matt. They had other things that they were doing. But to your point about a bullet in the head for John Calipari, look, Kentucky is 1-4 in their last 5 NCAA tournament games, Matt.
Brutal. Brutal.
Before that St. Peter's loss a couple years ago, Kentucky was 19-0 all time in the first round as a top 3 seed. And then they lose to St. Peter's as a 2. And then they lose on Thursday night to Oakland as a 3. And so at some point this offseason, there are going to be very serious conversations in Lexington because that buyout is massive. I think it's still $33 million.
33. Just 33 million. That's all. Yeah.
But this is Kentucky basketball we're talking about, right? And crazier things have certainly happened. And so that to me is perhaps the biggest offseason storyline that we're going to be tracking. It's crazy.
I forgot who tweeted it out, but they tweeted out that it's a $33 million buyout at about 10 p.m. last night. And I said that Kentucky will raise that money by 10:30 p.m. sharp. That will not be a problem over there in Lexington. I know the Mega Millions and Powerball are getting pretty up there. So track those ticket sales in the greater Lexington area coming up here the next few years.
I think we might see some interesting Churchill Downs movement this year.
No kidding.
Derby, and that might pay off some of that money. But Matt, going to be very interesting to watch. He threw all his freshmen under the bus again. And my thing.
That was great. That was awesome. Yeah.
Here's my thing. It's you've made this freshman bed, my friend. You got to lie in it, right?
And Jay Wright said the same thing too. He was kind of backing up Cal, being you know what, it's freshman laden. He was going up against grown men. And I like Jay Wright a lot. This isn't a slight against Jay Wright, but also on top of Cal's comments, it's my man, you have access to the transfer portal too, and you are the one that built this roster. You, John, you did this. So, and to have this be your problem last, just like you said, 4 years, like, well, if it isn't the consequences of my own actions, that's what a shame. So
yes. Well, folks, man, it's going to be a great tournament. We got multiple more weekends the rest of this weekend. Thank you so much for hanging out with Matt and I today as we preview what should be a great battle on Saturday early evening.
Yeah.
Big thanks to Matt Sheehan of Locked On Spartans for giving us a behind-the-scenes look at Michigan State and what we can be expecting from the Spartans. It's going to be a high-level, experienced game. Cannot wait for it. Obviously, we will have a live postcast as we always do after the game. Make sure you lock in on that. If you're not part of the Locked On Tar Heels Discord community, please come and join us. Come for the community, or come for the Tar Heels, stay for the community. It's going to be great. The link for that is in the show notes. If you're not subscribed on video and audio, do it right now. No reason not to. Super easy. Also, if you want to get notifications when I'm going live for postcast or when big news breaks as we get into the off season, hit that little bell button on YouTube and that'll give you those. All right, gang, it's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. We'll talk again on Saturday after the game, but until then, peace.